Welcome to the Front Door Show, brought to you by Fort Fantastic with DJ Prieto. And today we got a great guest here. As you know, the Front Door Show, we've been doing it about 3 weeks, and we get people from all genres. And this is a iconic DJ, Martin Luna, as you guys know him as DJ Boogieman Luna. So do me do everyone a favor, introduce yourself. While you're doing that, I'm going to start sharing it to all the thousands of people. Who are you? Who are you?
All right. If you want to know more about me, just ask. I'm Martin Boogieman Luna the third generation Martin Luna, and I'm here, with Pumpin' Preto. That was his original DJ name.
Yes. No, but it wasn't Prieto at the end. It was Prito, remember?
Burrito, yeah, like burrito. I get you. I guess where we always found you, always at the burrito joint. But anyways.
Which one?
Yeah. So I'm Boogieman. Pleasure to be here today for everybody. I understand, you got a great thing going on here, Angelo, and
thank you.
Glad to be part of the process and the documentary that you're doing here in general, as far as documenting all of us DJs and performers and people in the music industry. I think it's really important. You have like the Smithsonian Institute with the archives, and now you have a video generation. I mean, this lasts forever. So, I'll be here in 20 something years, 100 years to rewatch. And, Angelo, we're making history here, brother. We're in the mix. Like I always tell everybody, stay in the mix.
That's perfect. So just to go forward with what you are, you're not just a DJ. I mean, because in this industry, Martin, let's start from the beginning. How did you start? Yeah, that's. I guess everybody's going to want to know that. How did you start doing what you do?
Okay. I got asked this story more than a few times. I think I broke it down in a few paragraphs. It was really entertaining to people in the UK and such when, my music that I produced and wrote was out there. And they used to come out here also for my DJ skills and find out what I was doing and how I did it. And they asked me that question: how did I get started? Well, I had two residences after like 1978-9, and my father, he was a cross country and truck driver. Besides, my mom having her hair salon in the neighborhood. My mom's Sulema, she had Sulema's Hair Provisions, and so basically with that, it allowed her to go back and forth as she wanted to with my dad, and then I ended up doing a lot of school time out there, and I would come out here for the summers, play sports and stuff like that, hang out with my friends, vice versa, depending on my dad's mood, really. Growing up, you get on their nerves, get the hell out of here. I don't want to see you till school starts, But overall, I one year, summertime, I'm coming here to be with family, hang out. And I'm gonna picture this, I'll throw a picture proof in here for you. I'm back from Texas. At that time in Texas, the lowrider scene was really big. So I was wearing like pachuco pants, baggies. I had the suspenders. I was duked out, man. I had Stacey Adams for real, And I even had a Zoo chain, with the little watch, pocket watch. So now I'm going to this party with my friend. And, he's like, hey, yeah, there's a dance at the Patriotic Hall in South Chicago. It's one of the halls out of Union Hall Memorial.
I remember. Yeah.
Well, so we go to Patriotic. We're hanging out. Next thing you know, he's looking for his girlfriend. Can't find her. I'm entertained. I'm seeing friends I haven't seen since last summer. And all of a sudden I turn around, I can't find him. So I'm like, okay, where'd he go? So everybody's telling me, well, he probably went to a party in Slag Valley. That's a neighborhood. See, in South Chicago, you call that the east side. We call that South Chicago. Like the west side, we called like Pilsen, vice versa. But we were right by the border in Indiana. So yeah, right. South Chicago, you have South Chicago, you have Slag Valley, South Daring, East Side, and then you have everything down here by Stony Island. So I go to this party at the Patriotic, can't find them, and then I get pointed at Slag Valley. So I'm like, okay, I got to go find them. We're hanging out. So I go out the hall door. I look to the right to see if the bus is coming. 27 South Daring bus. Next thing you know, I see it like a few blocks down. Now I think we were on 86th, the end of 86th Street. That bus had to be at around 85th, around a block and a half away. And I'm like, man, can I run and make this bus on time? I'm looking at the corner. I'm looking at my Stacey Adams. I'm like, let me go for it. So I ran, click, 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 So I get to the corner on time, wave the bus down. I get on. I'm like, whew, get in the back where all the cool guys get on the buses. All of a sudden, at the very next stop at 87th and Commercial Avenue, these three guys get on. And I'm like, okay, see what goes on here, I'm not a troublemaker, but I live in Chicago. I know the deal, and so they get on and they size me up. They're walking by and looking at me. And obviously I wasn't thinking why, but it's because of the way I'm dressed. So I'm dressed Pachuco style. So next thing you know, one of the guys comes up to me, sits next to me, and he said, "Hey, what's up, man?" And I'm like, "Hey, what's up?" And he's like, "Hey, where are you from?" So, I'm from Chicago all my life, but I live in Texas right now. And I'm just he's like, "Oh, what are you doing?" I said, "Well, I came here to the party at the Patriotic." And I says, "And my friend left, and it's supposed to be a Slag Valley at some party on 87th, or I'm sorry, it was actually, that was probably 97th. So, no, 100th Street. So anyways, right off 100th Street, and they say, "Hey, we're going there. We're DJs. We can get you in, you seem like a pretty cool guy." That was after a conversation. I'm giving you a short version. So next thing you know, I get into this party with them. I don't have to pay. It's a yard party, disco lights, everything, sound system, and it's cool. Next thing you know, I meet up with these with these three guys, right? I'm in the party with them now. I can't find my friend, and I end up hanging with them. And the next thing you know, one of them said to me like, "Hey, have you seen the other two guys?" And I'm like, "No." He's like, "Well, I got a problem." I said, "What's that?" He says, "There's this guy here that I'm not good with, and he just got out of jail, and I ain't got no backup." And I said, "Oh, okay." And I said, "All right, I'll stick around you." So mind you, these guys are the guys right here. I actually found this picture.
Okay. Oh, wow.
So if you look at it, I'm the guy in the black shirt.
Okay.
Walking billboard most of my life. The guy in the blue is Rudy, the guy who approached me first out of the guys. Next to him in the shorts with the big muscles is Marty. And then Mike Garcia, which rest in peace, big brother to me back then too. That's the guys that were on the bus. And it just so happens I captured this picture. And this picture happens to be right in front of the place where I learned how to DJ. There at Marty's house. And that house stands at around 89th, 90th, yeah, 90th and was it Burley? Oh, yeah, I think it is. So anyways, it's right over there. And that's a whole nother story. So anyways, now I'm getting ready to, hang out some more, but my uncle shows up and he says, "Hey, what are you doing?" He says, "It's getting late, man. I'll take you home." Uncles, they just tell you and you do. I said, "All right, hold on. Let me say bye to my friends, So I went, I said, "Hey, did you find them yet?" And he's like, "No." I said, "Well, hey, here, I always carry a knife." I said, "Here." I says, "You can hold my knife just in case, He's like, "Oh, wow, that's cool, man." He's like, "Here's my card. Why don't you call me after today, like during the week, and you come pick it up where we practice DJing." So these guys right here, once again, the guy in the blue, Rudy, he's we call him Rudy. His real name is Martin, believe it or not, Martin Herrera, but his name is Rudy the Bird, DJ wise. Next to him is Marty without the shirt. That's his real name's Martin, which is Marty Gomez. Okay, Michael, love you, guy. But at the same time, those are the two guys that taught me how to DJ.
Okay.
So just so you know. So anyway, so now I go to pick my knife up, and next thing you know, I'm hanging out with them. Next thing you know, I'm a roadie. Next thing you know, I'm a light man, which was the most valuable thing I got, because being a light man, they had a band there. This is what great story is. Okay, this place, you know the movie Blues Brothers, right?
Yep.
Okay, well, Blues Brothers, you remember where James Brown was in the church and there was like, there was the leaning cross on top?
Correct.
And that's where the Blues Brothers were dancing in there and stuff? It's a block away. Just picture that. Okay, so this place here, there was a group back in the day called the CTA, a band. That band turned out to be Chicago. Well,
Oh, wow.
well, the original drummer, his name was Roland Gomez. Okay, Roland missed out on the tour that they got discovered on because he had to stay back for reasons. Okay, not jail. It's just he was in a new marriage, I think, something like that. But anyway, so long story short, baby on the way, he couldn't make the tour. Okay, so that's where they got discovered. That same basement is one of the basements that I learned how to DJ in, is where that band originated from, like with the member Roland. Okay. And there was band practice in there all the time with a group called Heaven Bound that ended up being Outer Jive. Okay. Next door was LPM Productions, another great band, you know. So long story short on that. Now, what happens is, because of that, this is the most important thing that probably happened where I learned how to DJ. Being that I had to work the lights for both the DJs and the band, they were very, 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 it was very important to them that the lights went with the music.
Right.
So like there was an overture, blast the lights, you know. If there was horns, you know, you hit these lights. If there were a bass player, guitar player, you hit those lights, vice versa. So being that I learned that, I learned to listen to music. So that's how I learned how to blend. That's how I learned how to count beats and hear keys. So my blends were pretty much kind of like almost flawless at times until this day, because I can hear songs that can go with songs better and kind of sneak them in the blend. You know the whole thing, Andrew.
But
So
you learn live music per se. That's what.
yeah, I don't know how to write music, but there you go. You know.
Right, right.
So
Right.
next thing you know, that's basically I ended up being a backup when they wanted to go out and talk to the girls on the floor at the end of the night when it really didn't matter who was DJing, kind of. So then I took over with that songs out then. I remember I couldn't wait to play a song like Situation, Don't You Want Me Baby, Slave, stuff by them, Earth, Wind and Fire. I mean, it was just all over the board, and that's basically I ended up being a backup DJ, and next thing you know, I was a mainline DJ, and that was back in 1982.
Right. So it was mostly like mobile stuff that you were doing in the beginning. That's what I'm guessing the three guys, they were basically doing mobile, or were they setting up their own parties or something like that?
Yeah, I think like you and others, we didn't have clubs just to walk into.
Right.
Now, I know you had your places, pubs, bars,
Right. Right.
and things evolved from there. In our case, mobiles were the big thing, and they were sought after. Between Marty and Rudy, there was another guy, Joey Jammin Diaz, who's one of my, mentors back then. They were originally mix masters together, and then they separated. And Rudy and Marty were Explosive Sounds, and Joey was mix masters, like the record, right? Like my artist. So what happened is that they were still friends, but they just broke it off, separated records, went their own ways, and they were the main go-to DJs. You had older guys like Louis the Bird Aguilera, Louis Bird. He was the oldies guy. I mean, nobody could touch Louis. He wasn't the best mixologist, but he knew what to play to lay. The neighborhood still loves him to this day. You had Quality Sound Productions with Mondo, and then you had oh God, someone's gonna kill me if they're watching this. I forgot the name of the other ideas. I'm gonna just stay right there. But we had a lot of good talent there.
If you know it, just type it in. I'll read it.
Yeah. So what happens is that everybody's wondering, well, what happened? You were Explosive Sounds. Yeah, I was Explosive Sounds. But what happened is that when Marty Rudy just got more involved in other things in the band and life like that,
Right.
they were they basically passed the baton to me, and I took over. And me and Joey ended up teaming up because he was still doing strong work. And next thing you know, we were just looking at the fact that I'm around him more now. His name was originally the name of everybody, and I liked the name market-wise, Mixmasters. So I went with that name, and here I am today, Martin, Boogieman Luna. And there's another story on the Boogieman thing, but
Well, no, we're gonna get to that.
So, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I just kind of I'm just saying.
So that was you said 82, 85 ish.
Yeah, right. Just peaking in the 82. Yeah, 82 is right when I hit.
Right. So when do you become? So this, like we talked about, like you just said right now about, then we had the pubs. When do you start going into, because everybody kind of did the mobile things and stuff like that, and you're a young kid still at this time. When do you start going into, is it teen clubs, or do you go right into the nightclub aspect of it?
Very interesting question, and this is why. Um, there
I
was a
think
neighborhood.
I give interesting questions.
There, yeah, you're an interesting guy. Yeah,
Thank you.
you wear pants, but anyway, so here's what happens. So now we're in the neighborhood. There was a bar called Denny's 2, the latest bar to stay open till 5 a.m. on Saturdays. Well,
Mhm.
they asked Marty Rudy, a DJ. Guess who was the backup DJ? Me. I'm like 15 years old.
Hey,
Okay. Probably going on 16, if not 16 there. But back then at the clubs, I think you could call it out and remember that. What's different from clubs yesterday till today? Well, yesterday in the old days, uh, if you dressed right, you got in. There was no blue jeans. Girls could not even wear blue jeans to clubs. I
yep,
don't care if you had Jordache or Sergio Valente tight jeans, you weren't getting in. You were not getting in. You had to have your skirt or slacks. Guys had to have dress pants and a collared shirt, not even a polo. Okay. So that's how I got in. I dressed the part. Okay. And there was one rule that Denny's too told me. I had to be a performer, so I could not drink alcohol.
correct.
Okay. Now, so I had Coca-Cola or whatever next to me. Now, of course, snuck a little bit of a rum and coke here and there and stuff like that, and a screwdriver. Rum and cokes were easier to hide, but I ended up. That was my first major club, you could say, and it was the spot. Everybody came there from Indiana, across the board, everywhere, because that was the 5 a.m. joint, man. You didn't
Right,
hear that too often back
correct.
then. So after that, I guess I just got ear of teen clubs, and that's where Prime and Tender came into play,
Hmm.
and that was the next move. That was my next move.
And that was the first time you met Nick, the owner of Prime and Tender, right? That was when did he hire you, or did you go in there and say, "Hey, I'm a DJ"? How did that work? How did that transition into Prime and Tender?
Well, no matter how old I was, I always had one of these. Everybody always says, Dan, that boogeyman, he always pulls the card out. I don't care where it is. Benji will
Okay,
tell you, bam,
right,
bam, bam. But what happens? It works. Back then,
right.
business cards were a big deal. Not everybody could just go to a Kinko's and make
What
one.
and not everybody had them either.
Yeah, but you could
Uh,
not just go to Kinko. I want my business card. No, no,
no,
you went through a process to get business cards,
right,
not like the
right.
FBI, but I'm just saying, But so what happens is that, yeah, I got word about teen clubs. I went there to check it out, and man, I guess just my ambition, my push, my optimistic ways of looking at life. I approached them and let them know, hey, I'm a DJ and I got records, this and that, and I'd love to play here one day. I gotta say, Nick was and Jerry were, they were like, all right, well, you have to talk to the DJ, this and that. Now back then, Prime and Tender, Nick's brother was DJing, who's a very well respected attorney this day in the state of Illinois, but his brother Pete was the main DJ with also Tony Slammin' Sinini. And
Oh my God, I haven't heard that name in such a long time.
yeah, cool guy. Both of them awesome dudes. And so what happens is that they heard me out, and I guess let's just say this: even till this day, I'm not that guy, that DJ who walks in with baseball caps. I don't walk in with gear. I always walked in appropriately and casual or better. So hair combed correctly, always shaven. And I'm gonna tell you, that's probably a big part of what happened with Nick and them, because as you can see in the years that came later, they would have a major dress code at the door, you
Yeah,
know. And so what happens is that I guess they just accepted my character, and that was a good reference, and that's why I got to talk to Tony. Next thing you know, uh, I guess Tony seen all the hall party flyers and Nick and them, that I was this kid doing big parties, at the Union Hall, Memorial Hall, going out to your side of the neighborhood and everything else. And I did bring a crowd when it all went down, but that's how I ended up getting accepted to DJ there, because Tony needed a backup sometimes on Sundays. And I ended up taking over Sundays. And the cool thing that happened for me is Tony just had some really great things going on in life, where he was able to ease off on the DJ thing and offered me to take nights, total nights, on adult nights. So I'm DJing at Prime and Thunder at a certain age, entertaining. And
right,
Nick was, seriously, you don't drink, you drink, you're not going to DJ here again.
right.
So,
Right.
I DJ'd these nights when I was like 17, 18 years old, 21 and over club,
Yep.
you know, once again, another popular one, especially because of quarter drink nights on Thursday. Yep.
Ugh,
You paid 1/4 for a drink, a quarter a drink till 12 o'clock. Nah, 12:45. I was 11:45, not 12. Trick. Last call for that was at 11:45.
Yep.
But anyways, and I ended up taking over Thursdays on the fact that they gave me Saturdays. Saturdays was okay night. It was considered a couples night, and then
Right.
Fridays was like the any kind of night. Well, I took over Saturdays, and I ended up equaling that crowd pretty much right there with Thursdays, and they were like, "Wow, what's this kid doing?"
You were
I'm breaking it to capacity when they only had 200, 150 people on a Saturday, 300 people.
right.
And next thing you know, I got it up to like 500, 600. Next thing you know, they gave me Fridays. I did the same thing for Fridays. And then all of a sudden, Tony made a move in life that offered me an opportunity to take the Thursday too. Boom, there you go. I'm a main line DJ of major club in Chicago, throughout Chicago. Everybody knew Prime Tender.
Right.
So that was
Well,
one of my biggest power breaks ever.
right. That was and at that time that you were doing Prime and Tender, just to be clear how the city was broken up into, there was still Tony Batoy doing his events at the Rainbow. There was still Al Cisneros doing stuff at Janelle's, and then there was Prime and Tender. So it had kind of the different, I guess, areas of Chicago, and we know Prime and Tender is not in Chicago, but you guys capture the suburban crowd, as especially that suburban crowd in the southwest of what you call. So you had South Side, you had West Side with 26 Pilsen and stuff like that, and you had the suburb crowd as well. And if I remember, the makeup of the clientele was very mixed: Italians, Irish, Polish, Latinos. It was very mixed. What I remember going in there, quarter drink nights and stuff like that. And the music you played, like all the music that you said, the funk, the dance, all the disco house. There wasn't no house yet. It was dance music per se.
I like that you said that's important. Dance
well,
music. It was either good
right.
music or bad music. There wasn't really categories. We didn't
Right.
have the thing that sounded like pajamas called genre. What the hell's
Right.
genre? But anyways, it's like either like slower beat tempo or higher tempo.
Right.
Faster tempo.
Right. That's what the music was in the nightclubs per se.
Well, let me tell you this. This is what happened. Prime and Tender was unique because of the whole marketing that they had, and the hours were awesome, for especially Chicago being next door. When the Chicago clubs closed at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock during the week at the latest, Nick was open and Jerry were open at Prime and Tender after. I mean, they were up to 4 o'clock through the whole week, no matter what night, 4 o'clock.
Right.
So now on the DJ music side of it, the only reason why. Let me say this. A lot of people were attracted to Prime and Tender because of the quarter drink night, but it was also big and easy to park. Like Nick always says, plenty of parking. So because I did my research and I was out there trying to get gigs everywhere, I would walk into every place. I'd hear what they're playing. And if you don't remember, like some of the hottest places were on Rush Street. And what happened is at Rush Street, you did not play anything, not disco, basically, you could say it. Even some rock was being played there. But at the same time, you couldn't play anything that was neighborhood friendly. You had to be mainstream pretty much.
Right. Right.
So what happened is that, when you go to your north side and the suburbs and all that included, you had an edge when you had music before somebody else. So I don't care if you were at Rainbow versus, you weren't versus me, okay? Because it was like you had. I mean, we could go down the line on the name of clubs in the north side, okay? Let's just say Eric's North or something like that, okay?
Right.
And let's say in the suburbs, Oliver's or something. You know what I mean? It's like they had. If their DJs weren't aggressive to go out there and find the music like I did, like I'd call record stores at 9 a.m. Hey, Jesse Jones at Loop Records. hey, did that version, I mean, did that come in Bostage, hard record to get back then, It's like, yeah, I got it. Dude, do me a favor. Write my name on that with a black marker. I'll be right there. What I mean? That kind of thing. You had to go out there and find this music. You couldn't go online. So if you didn't have an aggressive DJ that really went out there and did his best to make sure he bought that dance floor he was going to be on that week, the newest, freshest stuff, and go find a guy like Benji. If Benji didn't find you, because Benji saved a lot of people's lives, he used to come with his record bag. And if you were earned and deserving, you got that first promo.
Right.
If there was 25 of them, you got one of them. I was
Right.
one of those guys that earned it. I earned it, So that's where I don't care where you were DJing. There was a big year out there. You didn't need YouTube or Facebook for someone to say, yeah, that new song, Pump Up the Jam? Yeah, they got it over there. It's like, they got it over there. It ain't like, you can't hear it everywhere. If the DJ
Right.
slept on it, he wasn't going to have it for 3 weeks. So they went to your club for that song.
Correct.
You know?
Well, I mean that's the key to, I think, very successful night. And we can talk about the different generations of nightclubs compared to today, but we're talking about your time and your limitations of what you could get, because that's what it was. It was very limited in this, and what I mean limited compared to today. But if you didn't do the hard work, like you said, the hustling to get
Yeah,
what
but
you
you
got.
also had to be at the right place, Angela, because let's look at this in retrospect to clubs. You had places with big money behind them, like the Snuggery. Okay. Great group. Back then they were what, Ace or something like that, and then they are a la carte, but man, they had places everywhere, really nice places. But the problem is you had to play what they told you to play. So as a
Yep.
DJ, you went in there, you didn't bring your crates, you played their stuff.
Right.
They limited it themselves. So on their limitations, that allowed guys like me to take their people away.
Right.
Because they weren't going to hear Fast Eddie there when Fast Eddie came out. It wasn't accepted yet. The what would you say? I don't know. Angel Eyes was cool, but not Fast Eddie. You know what I mean?
Right.
So but that's how it really was, man. I mean, you really had to be a go-getter. You had to care about your people and the dance floor and having it first. You know what I mean?
Well, and so because of that, who was the one who, for Prime and Tender, and since that was your home base and stuff like that, was it you or Nick is the one who said, okay, let's start bringing live artists, being it whatever artist it was. Was it you that influenced him, or him influenced you, or did you guys have this, like, let's talk, let's have something, let's do something where we can bring in these groups, these artists?
Well, once again, I could be at the second portion of thought and conversation on how that happened. So I could be incorrect, but to the best of my knowledge, I'd have to say that Nick bought it in because he had a stage for one, and he's seen how great that stage worked out for the hot leg contest, bikini contest.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? It really worked. It was a stage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people don't know, but Prime and Tender was around as a steak joint before it was Prime and Tender Dance Place. So I mean, back then they had live bands and etc. I mean, the dance floor in there used to be like Saturday Night Fever, all lit up. So it's kind of like in the '60s. I think it would open up at '64 or something.
Okay.
So that was always there before we got in as DJs. So it wasn't really foreign for him to bring in live acts. And I had to believe that it was probably inexpensive on the first hit because Benji was like the road manager for everybody, and he was able to bring in groups. Only problem was, once again, some of the groups that would come there could not even get in the door because of the way they were dressed. And Nick's dad, who's old school tradition,
yes.
he's like, I don't care. I'm not letting them in. They got to dress right. Like they're performers. You know what I mean? That's what they wear, watch MTV or something,
Right.
But, that's his place and his rules. But so, yeah, I mean, with that, they put together some deals. I mean, come on, you even had some little places like Richie's doing it, Eric's
Oh no,
North.
I remember, but it would be only because I can honestly say, I'm sure everyone's going to say that it's like one of the first times that people seen live performances of these groups was at Prime and Tender.
I can tell you one thing personally, I didn't really like it because it took my DJ time away. I'm serious. At first, I'm like, man, dude, that's like my time. I just got all these records this week, man. I
such
gotta
a
play
DJ,
them.
such a DJ.
Yeah, I could play all their songs in like 10 minutes, and they're gonna take a whole hour of my night here, man. But yeah, funny thing. But yeah, so it was a staple move for him, because the Rainbow did it with Tony Batoy Productions. They did it in a major way though. You just couldn't touch it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Eric's North was probably second in command with that, and I guess we had the same. I guess we were probably third just because of capacity. I mean, it was size, not because Nick didn't have the studios. I mean, Prime and Tender wasn't a great place to be. It's just you could only fit in so many people.
Correct. I think capacity, our legal capacity was 700, but I remember but I think I seen almost 1,500 people in that place before. So
yeah, we had lines out the door, man. I mean, if you ever went to Studio 63 in the recent years, the one on 63rd and Harlem on the corner, I'm gonna tell you, that door, picture that door, left and right to to 63rd Street and to the street over around the corner. People would line up like that until 2 in the morning.
I know. I remember.
Yeah, it was well done, man, and I mean, great times.
So here you are, Prime and Tender, top DJ there. You're doing. What happens in your lifetime after that? Where does it go from that point as far as DJing? Did you do anything else? Did you get into anything else besides DJing? Because I know, did you ever do mixtapes and CDs? Did you ever do?
Come on, I did. Don't ask the questions like
well, no, but you know what? I'm just saying in the time frame. I mean, because because like for me, I did my mixtapes.
Hey, we're not talking about you, okay?
But I was late. I did it late.
This is my interview.
I did it way late, so that's why I'm asking with you.
Yeah, well, here you go. And like I told you, I was very blessed to be in the industry, introduced with it with band members. So I seen a lot of real raw music playing, instruments, etc., production. And what happened is, as that worked out, I had that relationship with Benji in the record world, getting promos from him at the clubs, etc. And when I went to go meet him one time at Quantum Distributors, which was right behind DJ International's on 727 West Randolph back then, they were behind DJ International, same building. That's where the operation was with Yaya and everybody, And believe it or not, we all worked there. I worked there, Fast Eddie worked there, Tyree worked there, CZR worked there, and a lot of other great names, but mainstream names, and it was really helpful because back then I was DJing, but I was a smart DJ. I never wanted to be a starving artist. And I mean smart because, yes, my parents brought me up in a workman environment. You work, you earn a living. And so, I mean, I was delivering newspapers at like 10 years old. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, I mean, I was always working. And at that time, I was working at Carson Perry Scott. I was working in the a la carte division, serving food, candy. We were the first ones to do Colombo yogurt. That was a health craze back then. Like, wow. You know what I mean? And what happened is that I of course wanted a little change of atmosphere. So Benji was able to offer me a job in Quantum Distributors, and who wouldn't take that? You're being right there in the heart of the music land,
Right.
Music world of house music. So I ended up working there, and through that, I see people going in and out of the recording studio. So there you go. I ended up getting hands-on, ears-on training about how it works and everything else. And of course, by selling the records and working the industry at nightclubs, I had a really good tone of what was going on out there. So I got introduced to the studio off a demo tape that I gave Benji, that me and my old partner, Joey Jammin Diaz, worked on. And some instrument played by Lou Sperano, because he was a piano player and he knew how to hit the keys correctly. And so we took a demo in there, and that's where that record House Express came in. And
We did that on a 909 and a rolling keyboard. And 909, we did it out pretty cool. We got that off of Carl Bias, who actually made Mind Games off of that for Jesse Jones and Liz Torres for Quest. No more Mind Games.
Yep.
So we had that actual 909 at that time. And so anyway, so we ended up producing that and making it a hit record overseas first. It went really big in Italy and Milan. And that's where I took off into the production area. And that was a flip side record. Joey and Lou weren't really into being in. They just liked what they did, you know. And Joey
Right.
had a great job. Lou had a great job. I was the only one not with an actual, you know, paycheck job. Well, I was getting paychecks from Benji. What am I talking about? Minimum wage,
so
Benji.
your
Minimum
first
wage. But anyways,
your first production was on Quantum Records. Is that
no,
the
DJ
one?
International Records.
Okay, DJ International. And then
Yeah.
since it was made by DJ International, you were the distributor, right? You worked in the distributing
Quantum, yeah. Mhm.
Quantum. So that you helped with the sales of it and pushing
Oh,
the
dude,
record.
I called all over the world. I was all over every city in the United States, selling.
Okay,
It sold
so
itself a lot. It sold itself a lot, but
Right.
you know, you had to sell it still. You know,
so here's a question I have to ask you, and it's an important question because I want people to understand that. And we just mentioned a little while before. So you couldn't call somebody in let's say China and say I have a house track, because the word house wasn't created yet, right? That as far as the term, right? So what did you label it as far as the music you were selling?
well, we would basically call it a Chicago record.
Okay,
You know, back then you had coast to coast. Florida wasn't even on the scene, like you know how they have all the the what's it used to be called the Winter Music Conference, but now what do they call it? Anyways, what's it called? The party they do?
ultra.
Ultra, yeah. That wasn't even out there yet. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
And so you had New York, Chicago, and Detroit going at it to who made
Correct.
the best music. LA was trying to sneak in there, but they couldn't ever do it. So hey, so yeah, I'm calling from Quantum Distributors. Just want to know if you know we got copies of Fast Eddie in here, and Tyree too. Turn up the bass, Fast Eddie, yo get funky. How many copies do you need? What's it sound like? Well, you know, it's a house track, steady house beat. So yeah, I guess we were saying house. We were saying house, but you know, as everybody know, not everybody knows, but as the right people know, I mean, the people that know understand. The Warehouse never even played house in their head. The actual Warehouse where Frankie Knuckles was. He
Right,
wasn't. He never claimed it either. He never said I was the house father and everything else. He
Right.
played music back then was probably more Philly style, you
Right.
know, and it was a whole different scene. The Warehouse on Halstead and Randolph was nowhere close near the 1 and 2 scene on the Warehouse. Warehouse 3 was the one we all went to.
Correct.
Unless you were of the, you know, the gay scene, you were going to Warehouse 1 and 2. Not that everybody was gay that went there, don't get me wrong, but that was what it was. You know what I mean? And you know,
And there was a lot of New York music as well that was played in the gay scene per se.
Well, you know what? Let's not even go there. They were just playing their Philly type disco stuff. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Yes.
So you know, when it comes down, I guess you know I'm losing my train of thought here, but I guess you said it earlier. It was either good music or bad music.
Right.
That's what it was. I mean, a lot of people don't understand. Back then in the Grammys, you only had one female artist of the year, one male artist, and one band. There wasn't all these subcategories. That's why you had the Prince of Pop and the Queen of Pop and the King and things like that. That's why Michael Jackson was the top and Madonna was back then. You know what I mean?
Right.
Prince was trying to sneak in there sometimes, but he was always Prince anyways. But you didn't have all these categories where everybody got a trophy. You know what I mean? It's so you were either top or you weren't, and it was based on record sales too.
Right.
You know, and like when it comes to that, I bought some goodies here. Like when you look at that,
everybody like, how do you know? Well, I was a member of the Dance Music Awards. I was given this out of Hollywood. Mr. Dillon was the chairman of the board, and Adele Real was the president. I used to vote with. I was a Grammy voter. You know, I was a Billboard reporter officially.
Yep.
Billboard magazine, which got me at the Winter Music Conference. I used to be a panel member for that.
Yep.
Documented. I'm in the Smithsonian, my friends, for house music in Chicago. New music seminar was the big thing before.
Yes, that was in New York. That was, yes.
That's where I met Ice-T and everybody. I was on a panel there too. And the most important thing that worked for me, I was an official Billboard reporter.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So just in case people wonder, like, how does he know this stuff? Well, guess what? I was knee deep in it because I wanted to be. I like being in the deep end of it. So yeah. So when you came down to it, once again, you hit it on the head, Angelo. It was either good music or bad music, man. I remember my record crates, man. They were categorized basically in BPM, you know, because you just wanted to know where. And guess who was next to who? You know, you had David Bowie right next to Fast Eddie. You know, you had golly, you had a Human League right next to September from Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's either good or bad.
Right. I mean, and that's what I kind of I feel that, and not taking away from what you're saying, but I think it was the same kind of, it kind of similar to what happened to, and I'm going to go back to the Latin aspect of it. People don't understand that salsa was an umbrella term to the different styles of music. And I think that's where we threw in house music. It was an umbrella term to what we know in Chicago dance music per se. You know, that's what I'm saying. And there's this big argument I know back and forth about who started house music, who you know, that's, you know, and we can go back and forth. That's like, who came first, the chicken or the egg? But it was good music coming out of Chicago, and it was produced by Chicago artists and Chicago musicians and Chicago and so forth. Because you were in the thick of it, and when I say the thick of it, you were probably thicker than most people were because of the fact that
and you know why I say that with a passion is because I sacrificed a lot of my life and time for that. People don't understand that. You know, it's just like you could go into like today. Where are you today, Martin? Where would you like to be? Well, you know what? I in a great way, I envy a lot of you out there watching, and anybody that has families, a lot of grandkids already, stuff like that. You know what? I made a choice, you know, and I don't regret it. You know, I had this conversation with my daughter that almost brought me to tears when she thought, you know, wow, you know, sometimes I wonder if I wasn't around, you know, if I didn't come around, you probably would have made it bigger in life. No, you saved my life, you know, because I may have been partying more than ever and things like that. You gave me a reason not to be so risky about certain things, you know. So, you know, much love to my daughter, Alexandra, on that. And, you know, it's like deep felt. And that was one of my first ways, you know, first times where I was like, wow, you know, yeah, it would have been a nice difference. But, you know, this is me. It's like, you know, I took a dedication to it. And that's why I have big problems with a lot of DJs today that just have the letters D and J before their name and they never earned it. You know, it's just kind of like, you know, I don't know. It's just, you know, being in this business as long as I have, I've been as legit as I can. I mean, like today, I still, you know, practice good business. I do business as DBA, as Mixed Masters Inc. You know, and I pay taxes every year. I have for years, decades. I've always been on the grid, you know, just like recently, I got the SBA loan, the grant, thankfully, you know, for my Mixed Masters company. You know, I mean, it was a generous portion that I got, you know, and I am using it for my business. You know, I just, you know, I'm glad for that because guess what? I do things correctly. You know, it's just like today, a lot of the guys, I know they're having fun. Some of them DJing on live feeds and all that. It just really, it's really sad to see that, you know, where most of us are past 30, you know, and how's it that it's still, you're still like not with a 9-to-5 job that's going to give you benefits, et cetera. And you really expect DJing to carry you all your life? Seriously? It's like, that's why I said, back when I was working at Quantum, me and Eddie and, CZR and Tyree, a lot of people don't know, we worked, I mean, we were working minimum wage, like, I think it was like 4.35 an hour back then, you know, and then I DJed at the clubs. Back then, people don't know, we were getting paid like, even Kenny Jason, everybody was getting $35, $50 a night to DJ. Back then, it costed $3.99, $2.99 for a domestic record that was made in the United States. Something outside of the United States was $7.99 to $10. So I would spend a whole paycheck on records. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Yep.
And then on the other side, fortunately, I was able to live with my parents back then. Until I was 17, 18, then I just made my move. It's like, man, I'm gonna say, if any DJs are out there watching, producers, man, get a job, okay, a real job. I mean, real, because something that you can get retirement on it, you can build something up for a future, leave your kids something. Because I do well because I work 9 to 5. I work for right now. I mean, for years I've been in the auto industry since 1990. Okay,
Right.
so if I said 1990 right now, I only been in the record production since 86, 87, DJing since 82. But I've always had a 9 to 5 job. I worked at Payless Shoes. When I was DJing at Prime and Tender. You know what I mean? I did what I had to do, and I still do that. And
Well, I think that's a testament to where your work ethics per se.
yeah, but that's what also helped me get to buy more records. What I was getting to.
Right.
Everybody's wondering, like, like right now, I'm doing a cleaning out the crates on Facebook Live and everything right now because I am cleaning them out. I've just yesterday completed my process of going through 75 crates of records. I
Woo.
had 1/3 more than that before my last move. Okay. And if anybody's interested in what I decided not to keep, they can reach Benji Espinoza after probably a month from now, because we're still organizing. Right now, I'm staring at 12 more crates going to him on Tuesday. Okay. So, and with these hard times, that's what I have something to fall back on. I mean, you know what? Fortunately, some of us have good habits of saving money, et cetera, like that. But at the same time, that was an investment, you know, and I'm capitalizing on my investments. You know what I mean? So when I go out there now, and I'm gonna tell you guys, with this whole thing going on right now, with this lockdown and everything else, and when they slowly open up the industry, I'm gonna tell you, clubs are gonna be monitored. Okay. And if you're DJing right now at a club before this that doesn't have a license to entertain, and they get away with it, ain't happening no
Come
more.
on. I agree.
You know what? I'm gonna tell you, just like my daughter, she's going to college right now, UIC, being criminal justice and criminal law, and she got a lot of that due to her own hard work. So, but my point is, she's also working at McDonald's, man. She knows she was brought up right. God bless, because it's like I try to instill in her what I got raised with, and because I don't know, I'm not bleeding on everybody here. It's not bleeding. I'm just trying to say, man, if I wouldn't care, I wouldn't say it. So I know DJs are watching this, and that's why I'm telling you, man. Even if you produce a great record, Britney Spears, everybody, they're not selling 3 million records anymore. It's all on downloads and streaming. I'm an ASCAP artist. I still get paid for my records. And fortunately, I get a little bit of money every month for that. But trust me, it ain't going to pay the rent. You know what I mean? Unless you can perform, and you got an act, and you can perform stadiums with at least maybe 10,000 or more people at a time, you're never going to be able to retire on what you do in the entertainment business. Never.
Correct.
So that's why, like right now I work for FCA and Mopar. I work Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. That's what I do. I'm a fleet manager. I run 3 departments. I work for FCA and Mopar. I run fleet service, parts, and sales. So with that, that's what I do. I get up every morning around 5:36 a.m. My day ends at around 3 to 5, depending on my clients. But and I'm out there doing whatever I got to make it. So I'm telling you guys, this is not being arrogant or a jerk with you or Mr. Show Off. I'm just trying to say, please plan your future. just plan your future. DJing and producing is not the answer to everything. If you get that one lucky strike, great for you, man. I hope you get it, man, girl, ladies and gentlemen. But at the same time, only reason I got worth today, my worth is what I built since '82, and that's why I can go to a club when this is over with and get paid what I'm supposed to get paid.
True.
I'm not DJing for free unless it's your birthday. Even though I've done it, there's an old story where I went to DJ at the Alamo. A lot of the radio DJs were there. I was on GCI DJing at the time. The other DJs from B96 were there. Well, that main DJ from B96 said he wanted his pay. The Alamo had nobody there. One of those, whoa, what happened tonight? You know what I told the guy? I says, give me a hot dog and a Coke from the bar. We're even. Guess how far that took me? That guy ended up being one of the top promoters in Chicago for a long time. And guess who we hired?
You.
Yeah. So
absolutely. I think that works with everything that that's your personality, or should I say your openness. People who think they're bigger than shit, I think they don't get far in this.
No, you just messed up the whole broadcast. That was the first swear word.
Oh, no, it's rated R now. And trust me, they can say that on television, so I'm okay. The 7 things you can't say on television. Shit, okay. So then, I think that's where things take you in this business a lot further. Because if you're a jerk or you think you're above everybody else and stuff like that, I'm sorry to say, but bad news travels faster than good news. And I say, and if you're a jerk in this business, a lot of people will be like, hey, don't worry, we know about this guy and stuff like that. So, and I know exactly what you're talking about when he said,
Angelo, let me insert here. I believe what you're saying, and people should too, because I've dealt with a lot of promoters in the past. Besides being a DJ, you've capitalized on promotion, and I'm gonna tell you, you're one of the easiest guys to do business with, and you respect the person you're paying. You even pay before they start. That gig that night. Right. So I just want to throw that in there. I mean, you do good business. Right. And that's the same with me on my Mix Masters Inc. I mean, dude, there was a time I got proof. I got old magazine articles. I had 87 DJs working under Mix Masters umbrella. And why do I say umbrella? Because I never contracted anybody. I'll leave names out of it. But a lot of top names, even radio names, were Martin. Hey, can I get on your roster? What do I got to sign? They said, I'm like, nothing. I said, it's just a platform, man. I said, now, personally for me, if they did anything wrong at the party, guess what? I wasn't held liable because they weren't under my company contract with me. Right. So it was another good thing for me. But what I'm getting at is that, they even wanted me to start the DJ union because I had so many DJs. I had every major nightclub. I'm telling you right now, there are some names out there, dude. I'm like, no. Just let me say this. There was not a major nightclub I didn't have my hands on. Because a lot of the guys that were hiring from promoters and owners would say, Martin, I got to have you on my club. You know what? Okay, who's good like you? So there you go. I had 87 guys right behind me. Right. So with that, you with all these guys, when Facebook came out, ruined everything. All of them thought they were their own promoter, they were their own thing, their own platform. I still have my website. I'm not leaving my website. Because if Facebook goes down one day and they say, hey, we're not allowing band pages or this or that, or I got my website. I don't care. Do whatever you want. Just like when I'm on Facebook Live DJing, they're like, oh man, I got kicked off. So what? I just click a button and go back on. If everybody likes you, they're going to find you and go right back on and click on the next show. So it ain't no big deal. I mean, it's like, I'm good. I don't have to lift a big sack, 100-pound sack, put it on my arm to go hit that button, Right. So once again, it's what you make of it, and you did good business. You still do. I always appreciated you out there. And I can't say that for too many people.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, I mean, speaking of your business, now you're working at Quantum, working at Carson Beer Scott, and working all your other jobs.
But I was a DJ International too.
Right. Well, that's what I was going to say. Where does that what step does that take you into radio? Because you were on radio as well.
That was a very good hurricane. Hurricanes are bad and good. They can ruin things and they can also clean Mother Nature. Like when you have algae.
Before you go further, just want to let you know, because we got about 10 minutes,
Mhm.
but just I'm going to let everybody know. I already told Martin that this probably wasn't going to do it in an hour, because you got a lot of history. So just let everybody know, if we don't finish this interview, and I don't think you're going to come up with 10 minutes of your whole future, your past in 10 minutes. So there will be a part 2 of this. Okay. I just want to let everybody know, but go ahead. The
Yeah,
hurricanes?
I'll be back on again.
Yes.
Whoa, okay, maybe not. Yeah, we'll be back.
But go ahead, talk about your hurricane.
Okay, so yeah, I'm just saying. So like a hurricane could come into the bay and clean out all the algae. There's a reason for things. Mother Nature had a bigger plan that we don't know about. So anyway, so in that whole case, this nice hurricane worked out where I'm working at Quantum, I'm working in top nightclubs. I made my first record. Actually, these are my records right here. These are every record that got pressed. Those are vinyl records, and those are everything that I have done since day one. Very happy and proud of that. So, anyways, so what happens is that Benji, always a big influencer. He talked me up because I earned it, and next thing you know, I get approached by Billboard magazine to be a Billboard reporter. Boom! That's where a lot of things just busted open for me. I mean, I got first copy of everything out there in the world. You know what I mean? And there's only 3 guys that were getting that in Chicago at that time. Okay, I was one of them. So, so all of a sudden, DJ International, the record label, seen an opportunity with that because I had a reach with the world on breaking music. They were watching my charts nationally. What's he playing? So I was able to not even lie about it. But part of the Billboard is that you have to report what you're playing at the nightclubs. Because I was in the Billboard club panel, okay? So right. Club DJ panel. So I put them in there. I charted them correctly, along with other records that were from other labels. Epic, Atlantic, everybody else out there. And all of a sudden, I guess everybody from Rocky and Benji and everybody asked me to lend them my ear from everything I was hearing to help with DJ International. So that's how I became the A&R director.
Okay.
I was the guy that signed the majority of the new acts after 89. So every tape would come to the label in the mail. I'd have a box sitting next to me in the office, had my own office. And that I used to listen to every cassette one by one. And if I felt that they were right for the label, I'd feed it to Benji and Rocky. Next thing you know, somebody got signed. And so because of that, I was an A&R director. So I was working the radio. I got called into WGCI by a visit from Armando Rivera, our beloved WBMX man. The host of the WBMX 102.7 FM party there. Saturday night dance party. So what happens is that he brought in the music director to see me playing live on the main floor that I played on Saturdays at Shelter. And that's how I got picked up for that. So I'm going to tell you, I'm sorry if I'm saying everything so quick, everybody, but everything happened that fast. It really did. I got fished in from Prime and Tender. Everybody wanted me after Prime and Tender. It really sparked the thing where I was even able to leave Prime and Tender for a moment and come back and get paid more. You know what I mean? It's like my value just rose, but that whole thing, I'm going to tell you, Angelo, unless you give me bullet points, it's really, everything just happened. I was doing all things at one time. And maybe that's because I can do that. Some people can juggle. I can't juggle. I tell you, I couldn't juggle right now if I tried, but I can manage things. A lot more different than people. I could, I don't like to micromanage, but I could multi-manage things. And so, I was back then, I was selling cars. I was working, at the label, working the radio, etc. And I ended up going full-time music at that time. I was the A&R director. I was an artist. I was a DJ, a remixer, which is a whole nother great story there to tell. I think I went a little bit off of what you asked, man, but it's kind of like one of those things, unless you got like more than a minute, it's just so much to it. I mean, because you don't want to leave anything out. There's some really
Well,
important parts of
let's
it.
talk about the radio aspect of it. The radio, and then we'll go because we're doing a second show. So I remember the radio that was GCI, right? That's what you
Mhm,
were on.
mhm.
So it because the Hot Mix 5 was already created, correct?
Yeah,
And
they were what, 3 year, 4 year span barely.
right. And then you came up with what was it you or was it just a group of guys? You said, okay, let's do GCI. And was it Mixmaster? What was it? What exactly was it that you
Well, here's
guys
what
were doing?
happens. Like I told you, the shelter story,
Right.
So, Armando brought in the music director, Stephen Ross, who was the acting music director, to hear me out. And that's where they said, hey, we'd love you to be on the radio on the weekends. They had some guy that was syndicated from LA, I believe. And he wasn't playing what Chicago wanted to hear for Club 1075. So they offered that to me. Fortunately, I went right on that following week because they knew I was already on. Harry the Blade had put me on WCYC, CRX, I mean,
Okay.
88.1. So I was already recognized by them. They were listening to me, and I didn't know it yet. They were already listening to my show. So my hour, and so they said, yeah, they said, don't even worry about, just get us a tape. And I said, you don't want to hear it first? No, I said, we know how you work. You know profanity, that. So, but the reason that all worked out was mainly that factor. Before that, though, I mean, just think about it like this: I was working every top nightclub in Chicago. If there
Mhm.
was 10 nightclubs, I was working seven of them. You know what I mean? You know, but uh, I guess first I was a guest mixer on WBMX. I was Kenny Jason's first guest mixer. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
he was my first host to me, brought me out for that half-hour show back then, or 25 minutes. And then Mickey Oliver took me on after that. And that's a whole nother great story because Mickey taught me some great editing work. I learned some great editing stuff from him that worked out big time for me in the studios. But so with that, and Armando being able to tell Stephen Ross, I was already a guest there, and and then at the time I was guest mixing. I did a couple guest mix shots on B96, but I didn't really want to be part of the B96 team because I didn't want to be under a certain leadership. I had my own reasons, competitive reasons, everything else, professionally speaking, not
Right.
personally. So I definitely, you know, uh, it came in at the right time because that's when it was buzzing that I was probably going to go on B96, but then I already knew they had a plan that was diabolical. and so I just leave it like that. So I already knew what was going to happen, and that was around the Pan American Fest when I kicked everybody's butt already. But
Right.
well, that's another story. So this guy ended up fishing me out, and that was because also Ralphie Rosario, I was his guest DJ when he was doing the AM station when they did that split you're talking about,
Right.
when the BMX thing broke up and they went over there to GCI and they started on the AM show with their own
Right.
AM show besides what else they were doing on the regular FM. But then
Right.
when that broke down and everybody went back to BMX, et cetera, back and forth, it all got shooken around. Well, they needed a mainframe DJ, and that's where I came in, and that's where I was basically considered. I think I still have a write up on it from a Chicago magazine. They called me the one man show because I did the whole mix show by myself. While B96 was on, I was doing all my hours versus their hours. I was doing like 4 hours a night versus their hours by myself. So I had never repeats. I only played the 4 or 5 hottest songs twice a night. That was it. So you never really got repeats from me. And that's how I got on the radio. And one thing that's really cool, you can look at it in different ways when you look at Arbitron, but the greatest thing that happened, I was there when GCI, Club 1075 was part of it. We went #1 for the first time as a dance radio station, music station over BBM and LS in Chicago history. Uh, Man, I was part of that. So,
Well, okay. Well, see, that's where I don't think a lot of people knew.
Club
That's why.
1075. Don't forget to dot that I. Yeah, and
So that's
Irene Mojica and Armando both hosted that show I did
right.
because
Right.
so long, Armando did the beginning of it, and Irene did the after hours. Irene Mojica, the Mamacita Mojica.
Well, because of what you did, because of what you did, and it just then there comes now. I'm sure they B96 did the whole thing and said, wait a minute. this guy, one guy is outdoing you guys, and I'm sure they created their response per se.
Well, in all due respect, GCI still has like the biggest antenna. Our antenna had reached every other state next to us. B96 didn't have that capacity, so I'm not going to act like that. And they are all great DJs. They all,
Oh
but
yeah, oh yeah.
I had an edge, and let's just say this: maybe people were listening in a way where they liked that they always heard something, not so much. Everybody played that top record every hour. I had something different every hour, you know.
That's good. So I mean, like I said, it's almost time. Um, just real quick, because I know we're gonna do this again. We're gonna talk, and I want you to tell everybody the stories. What happens after radio? I mean, I should say happened after radio, because you were always kind of did radio, but you were also doing the other things. The remixing is the other subject we're going to talk about. You're producing as well, producing and the editing and stuff like that from Mickey Oliver. And then where you went when in the club life and the club business and stuff like that. And obviously the Madonna stuff as well. The how big and your Grammy nominated and so forth and so on. So we'll talk about all that. Any closing remarks you want to say to people that are listening? And we'll let everybody know later on about the date that you're coming back. But any closing remarks you want to say?
Well, first of all, thanks a lot for tuning in, everybody. And thank you, Angelo, for asking me to be on your show here today. And all I can say is that, it's been a long road. I'm still rolling with you, and I'm not stopping. I'm never going to use the word retire. And so you can always follow me easily. Go to djboogieman.com. Or you go to mixmastersinc.com on the internet. Find me at all times, even if Facebook blacks us out one day. Outside of that, Boogieman. That's where you can find me on Facebook. Follow my page. I do mixes like everybody else. And if you want to hear my older mixes, they're all on there, at least for the moment, while that works out. And you can find me on every format you can think of. So on the Boogieman side, you can find me everywhere from, Facebook to YouTube, etc. On the Mix Master side, you can find me everywhere from Discogs on all the records I made, because I'm on over 70 compilations worldwide, etc. I'm on Apple Music. I'm on Spotify, Internet Music Database for the films like Madonna you just talked about. The Truth or Dare. But there you go. Other than that, I thank you. I'll be back with Angelo. And all I got to say, like always, is very important. Stay in the mix.
All right, guys, we'll be back. Don't go anywhere, Martin. Thank you.